breaking news here on Texans Today. Scruggs, he has officially returned to practice, opening up that 21-day window that he can return to game action. Could we see him this Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars? That is yet to be determined. But all we know is Juice, he is back. He is back at practice. Great sign for the Texans' second-round pick from this past season out of Penn State. I mean, it would be a huge get if Scruggs can return to the lineup. I think the running game would improve, and I think the nastiness of this offensive line could get a little bit more if Juice is back in the lineup. But stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed for more updates around Scruggs the entire week leading the kickoff. I mean, what a great way to kick off Jags week. Battle Red, baby. Let's go, and let's get into this Texans versus Jags preview. Welcome in, Texans fans. I got a great show on tap for you today. We're talking Texans, Jags, Battle Red, all the good stuff today on this show. Welcome in. The Week 12 matchup is for AFC South supremacy. So get your seatbelts on, stay locked in, because we got a great show coming up for you. Before we get started with anything on today's show, I need to get this out of the way right at the top. Right at the top. Get your score predictions down in the comment section right now. We're going to have a watch party this Sunday for Texans, Jags. Shout out to everybody who hit that sub button so far. I appreciate every single person for helping us beat the Patriots in a sub battle this week. But get your score predictions down in the comment section. You get it right, maybe a prize this Sunday coming your way, but you got to get in to get entered. So go down there and give me your score prediction for this weekend right now. First off, before we get started on the keys to victory, Texans' major injuries to keep an eye out on for this week. Jimmie Ward and Henry To'oTo'o, two defensive players, which Henry To'oTo'o on the Texans' unofficial depth chart, starting at middle linebacker. So he is absolutely needed. He is a pivotal piece on this Texans defense with Denzel Perryman out this game from suspension. Jimmie Ward, also questionable. That's a key part. He is one of the best players on the back end, especially on a team that loves to throw the ball as much as the Jags. You'll need a healthy Jimmie Ward if you're really trying to bring the heat up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dameon Pierce, Noah Brown, both also questionable for this weekend. Dameon Pierce been out the past 2 weeks with Devin Singletary blowing up. We'll get into that later on in today's show. But also Noah Brown had some great games for the Texans, was out last week, so questionable this week. Love to see Noah Brown return up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jags, I mean, I was really looking for any injuries that the Texans could exploit, any injuries where it's like, oh, the Texans could have an advantage here. The only one they really have is Tyson Campbell. Their cornerback out of Georgia, 34 tackles, 1 INT, 4 PBUs this season. But that's really the only key injury to watch out for the Jacksonville Jaguars. If he is out, look for Tank Dell, some of these Texans wide receivers, to feast this Sunday. Now, looking at keys to victory up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, going to be a tough game this Sunday. Like I said, winner moves into the first spot for the AFC South. So a huge matchup this weekend. But before we get going, once again, I got to shout out everybody who subscribed on the last video. Continue to do so. Hit that sub button. We're trucking along to 7,000 subscribers. I want to get there by the time our watch party comes this Sunday. So go down and hit that sub button if you want daily Texans videos, the latest news and rumors around H-Town. Go down and hit that sub button right now and show everybody, hey, this Texans channel is no joke here at Chat Sports. We are one of the fastest growing channels here. Go down and hit that sub button right now. First key to victory up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, you got to make the Jags run the ball. I mean, their offense really goes with Trevor Lawerence in this passing game, wherever that goes. The Jags are the 5th worst in the NFL, averaging 3.8 yards per carry. And if the Texans can really force them to run the ball, force them to, give it to Travis Etienne, they're the 3rd best in the NFL, allowing 3.7 yards per carry. I mean, Travis Etienne, a decent running back for them, college teammates with Trevor Lawerence. But if the Texans can force them to give Etienne the ball, be like, hey, we're not going to let Trevor Lawerence beat us. We're going to let Etienne try to beat us. I think that's a great strategy for this Texans defense. Now, we have more keys to victory coming up, but I couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our sponsor, Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy, folks. Prize Picks is the most fun I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. And I cooked up a little Thanksgiving special for you folks at home. I got Christian McCaffrey. They have a 99% off discount on his Russian receiving yards for Thanksgiving. So he just needs to gain a yard, and we're in the clear. So, yeah, give me the more on Christian McCaffrey on getting 1 or more yards. David Montgomery, 75.5 rushing and receiving yards. Give me the more on that. And Dak Prescott, 265.5 pass yards against the Commanders. Easy money. Use my picks. Get some money this turkey season with Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, it's daily fantasy sports made easy. My next key to victory, I think you got to pressure Lawerence with your front four. If the front four guys can get pressure on Lawerence, that is going to be great news for DeMeco Ryans in this Texans defense because they have some weapons on the outside. Calvin Ridley having a resurgent year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But when pressure has come to Trevor Lawerence in this Jacksonville Jaguars offense, he's committed turnovers. And whenever Trevor Lawerence commits turnovers, they've lost the football game. In all of the 3 losses for the Jacksonville Jaguars this season, Trevor Lawerence has committed a turnover. With the Texans, it was that key pick by Blake Cashman. So, if the front four can really go and bring the pressure on Trevor Lawerence, I think that is going to be a big key to victory for the Houston Texans. And they can drop their other 7 guys, make sure Calvin Ridley's not open on the outside. That'll be great news. And I'm looking at this guy right here up the middle, Sheldon Rankins. Had a great game up against the Cincinnati Bengals, a 3-sack game. I want to see him feast up against this Jags offensive line. Walker Little at left guard. I think that's a great matchup for Sheldon Rankins. And going along with that, the rest of this Texans defensive line, I'm really looking at it. Malik Collins, Jonathan Grenard, and Will Anderson on the outsides. I really think this is a matchup that the Texans should and could win this Sunday. I think the Texans D-line, they can win up front. That'll lead to a Texans victory. And I'm also looking at the 2 guys on the outside, Jonathan Grenard and Will Anderson. So far this season, both guys having pretty good years. Jonathan Grenard, 7 sacks on the season. Will Anderson with 3, 5 tackles for loss, 11 tackles for loss for Jonathan Grenard. But the quarterback hits too, 14 and 13. These guys are playing well for the Houston Texans. And I really think if we see a Trevor Lawerence turnover on Sunday, that'll spell for a Houston Texans victory. So let me ask you this question at home. Will the Texans force a Lawerence turnover this Sunday? I think if they do, chalk up a Texans dub. I think if they do, you can chalk up a dub for the Houston Texans. Give me a yes, give me a no in the comment section on if the Texans will force a turnover from Trevor Lawerence this Sunday. My next key to victory, you got to feed Devin Singletary. He is the hot hand in the Texans backfield. He has played incredible over the past 2 games. I mean, look at these stats. 52 carries, 262 yards, averaging 5.1 yards per carry, and 2 tutties. I mean, Devin Singletary, that dude is on fire. But the question is, will we see Dameon Pierce back for this Texans team? I told you at the top of the show, he's questionable to return up against Jacksonville. If he does, I wouldn't mind Dameon Pierce. I mean, I think he's still a good running back, but Devin Singletary still needs to be the focus for the Houston Texans in the backfield. He needs 20-plus carries, in my opinion. It's okay to get Dameon Pierce in there, work him in, maybe in some short yardage situations. He's also a pretty good pass blocker as well, but I really think Dameon Pierce, he needs to be the RB1 going forward for the rest of this season. Lastly, CJ Stroud needs to just keep on taking shots downfield. The Texans are 3rd in the league on yards per attempt for pass plays, and even though he had 3 interceptions up against the Arizona Cardinals, I loved what CJ Stroud had to say. He said, Steph Curry don't ever stop shooting. I'm going to keep letting it fly. And let it fly, young man, indeed, because C.J. Stroud has been on fire this season. These are his stats through week 11, 62.8 completion percentage, almost 3,000 yards, a QB rating of 99.3, 17 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. I mean, I'm telling you, you got to go and let C.J. Stroud cook and let him let it fly. That's when this Texans offense is most lethal, and I'm telling you that right now. C.J. Stroud, he's the most electrifying, pro-styling, profiling, the biggest show, the biggest man in entertainment today. It's C.J. Stroud. Yeah, and I'll tell you this right now. C.J. Stroud, he's going to light it up this Sunday. He's going to prove why he's not only the offensive rookie of the year, he's also the MVP and the most watched man in the NFL for good reason, because he is absolutely in fuego when the ball is in his hand. It doesn't matter if the ball is wet. It doesn't matter if he can even grip the ball, because he's still slinging it east and west, going up and down the field all Sunday long. So, Texans fans, be there this Sunday for whenever I do a watch party, Texans versus Jags. It's going to be absolutely electric, and C.J. Stroud is going to have the whole crowd saying, C.J. Stroud, yeah!